Driving at night always filled me with a sense of unease, the darkness swallowing the edges of the road like hungry shadows. But on that particular night, the unease had turned into outright dread. It was as if the darkness itself was alive, pulsating with an ominous energy that seemed to whisper of hidden terrors lurking just beyond the reach of my headlights. I had been driving for hours, the monotonous hum of the engine and the rhythmic thud of tires against asphalt lulling me into a trance-like state. It was only when I glanced at the clock and saw the time flashing in bright red digits that I realized how late it was. The road stretched out before me, a seemingly endless ribbon of blacktop cutting through the wilderness like a scar on the land. I checked my phone for the umpteenth time, hoping to find some signal that would lead me out of this desolate stretch of highway. But all I was met with was the mocking glare of no service. Panic began to claw at the edges of my mind as I realized just how isolated I was out here, alone in the darkness with nothing but the empty expanse of the road ahead. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, the headlights flickered and died, plunging me into total darkness. My heart leaped into my throat as I slammed on the brakes, the car skidding to a stop with a screech of protesting tires. I fumbled for my phone, using its feeble light to illuminate the dashboard as I frantically tried to restart the engine. But no matter how many times I turned the key, the engine remained stubbornly silent. I was stranded, alone in the darkness with no way of knowing how far I was from civilization. Fear gripped me like a vice as I sat there in silence, listening to the eerie creaks and groans of the surrounding forest. I knew I had to do something, had to find help before whatever was out there found me. With shaking hands, I reached for the door handle and stepped out into the night, the darkness swallowing me whole as I ventured into the unknown. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. The only sound was the crunch of gravel beneath my feet as I made my way down the deserted highway. Every rustle of leaves and snap of twigs sent a shiver down my spine, my imagination running wild with visions of lurking horrors just beyond the reach of my flashlight. I walked for what felt like hours, the darkness pressing in on me from all sides like a suffocating blanket. And then, just when I thought I couldn't take another step, I saw it. A faint glimmer of light in the distance, flickering like a beacon of hope in the oppressive darkness.
Relief flooded through me as I quickened my pace, my footsteps echoing loudly in the silent night. But as I drew closer, the light began to take shape, resolving into a dilapidated old motel nestled at the edge of the forest like a forgotten relic of a bygone era. My heart sank as I realized the truth. There was no salvation to be found here, no refuge from the horrors that lurked in the darkness. But with no other options left to me, I pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside, the stale scent of decay washing over me like a wave. The lobby was deserted, the only sound the faint buzz of flickering fluorescent lights overhead. I called out for help, my voice echoing eerily in the empty space, but there was no response. It was as if the motel itself had been abandoned to the ravages of time, a forgotten monument to the darkness that lay beyond its walls. I stumbled down the deserted hallway, my footsteps muffled by the threadbare carpet beneath my feet. Every door I passed was closed and locked, the windows boarded up tight against the encroaching night. It was as if the motel was a fortress, a last bastion of sanity in a world gone mad. And then, just when I thought I couldn't bear another moment of the suffocating silence, I heard it. A soft whispering sound, like the rustle of leaves on a breezeless night. I froze in terror, my breath catching in my throat as I strained to listen. The whispering grew louder, filling the air with a cacophony of voices that seemed to come from all directions at once. I clamped my hands over my ears, trying desperately to block out the maddening sound, but it was no use. It was as if the voices were inside my head, a chorus of madness that threatened to consume me whole. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the whispering stopped. I stood there in the darkness, trembling and alone, unsure of what to do next. And then, from the depths of the motel, I heard it. The sound of footsteps echoing down the hallway towards me. I turned and ran, my heart pounding in my chest as I fled into the night. The darkness swallowed me whole, wrapping its tendrils around me like a lover's embrace as I stumbled blindly through the wilderness. I knew then that I would never escape, that I was doomed to wander these lonely roads forever, a lost soul trapped in the darkness for all eternity. And as the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, illuminating the empty highway stretching out before me, I knew that I was truly alone. There would be no rescue, no salvation from the horrors that lurked in the darkness. There was only the road, stretching out before me like a promise of endless torment, a reminder of the night that everything went wrong.